nice he's a little older than I first thought. When I first looked at it, he looked like it was 7.
Good evening. Welcome to City Council meeting of May the 26th. Madam Clerk, would you roll call, please?
Mr. Cannell. Here. Mrs. Reclue.
Present.
Mr. Shivadecker.
Here.
Mr. Vaughn.
Here.
Mr. West.
Here.
5 council members present, 3 absent.
Okay, very good. If you'll rise with me, Pastor Williamson will lead us in the invocation this evening. So, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Dear Lord, we're grateful for such a beautiful day as you've given us and for the privilege again to live in the community that we live. We're grateful for the progress we're making, and in lieu of all you do for us, we remember our folks underwater in Houston and the South Texas area. And we pray, dear God, for those that are recovering from the storms of last week from Oklahoma clear up into the New England area. Lord, bless their recovery. We're grateful, Lord, for the many blessings of life, for the growing season. Thank you for the sunshine and the rain that you've brought to us in a very timely and wonderful fashion. We pray for this session tonight and for our mayor and council persons and the work that will be done here tonight. We pray, Lord, that it's exactly your will for this community. We thank you for those that have come to participate. That's what makes community strong. We continue to pray for those that we love that have gone through physical trials, and tonight, no less, we pray for Gabriel, for Chief Myers, for Mayor Benton, Mrs. Reclue, Mr. Chyland, Bill Laswell, and anyone else that would be on our hearts tonight who needs that touch from God. We submit this session to you, ask you, Lord, to be in the midst of us to lead it, and we'll give you the thanks for it together. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. At the beginning of each council meeting, we set aside a time for anyone who'd like to address the council about an issue in the city that they're concerned with, and if you're not already on the agenda, to do that. And so at this time, if anyone's present who'd like to address the council over a concern, we just ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes and give us your name and address. So is there anyone present who'd like to address the council? Seeing no one coming forward, we'll now move on to the approval of the council minutes for the April 28th meeting. Again, those are included in your packet. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
a typo on first page under minutes. Council meetings for April 14, 2015 were presented. In the next paragraph, it says April 4th, 2014.
Okay, correct.
Apologies to Madam Clerk, I meant to send her an email.
Thank you, Mike.
We'll get that corrected.
Move for acceptance as amended.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes as amended or as corrected. Is there any further discussion of the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Likewise, in your council packet was minutes from our May 12th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes of May 12th. Is there any further discussion of the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay, very good. We'll now move on to consideration of the financials for the month of April. And Mrs. Holzlog is in attendance with us this evening in good voice, and it's good to see you. Even with the auditors, they're not here, I take it. So.
And my hair's not too gray yet.
Oh.
We've now recognized 3 months of sales tax, and there's no negligible difference from the prior year. It's probably under $50. It's amazing it's that close. April was also the first month that we used some of the construction proceeds from the bank. I think we expensed $575,000. It's offset in the financials by the loan proceeds, so that it should have a wash effect on any of the utility funds. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Yes.
I have
Mr.
one.
West.
Under gas and water, we have some costs for the new state hospital. Is that,
Those will be billed to the state hospital. They were just incurred prior to the statements going
so
out.
they will
They-
reimburse us
yes,
out of their bonds
Yes,
or
and we're
whatever?
going to, our plan is to bill them around the first of every month.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
The state hospital's been really good to work with as far as
Sure.
itemizing out things that we're gonna be charging them back for.
so,
I mean, what are we gonna do, say no, but I just want to know.
True.
We might also ought to mention at this point, there'll be a lot of that over the next few months. Daryl's been in extensive conversations with them, and he'd be happy to give you a report on all they're gonna do. But there'll be some significant expenditures through
Because
this process.
even once we start billing, that will show up on the revenue side,
Yes.
and the expense will still hit, so, just so you know.
But you may see some lag one way or the other.
And, yes,
Might see what?
a lag.
A lag.
Yeah,
At a time.
of course.
We bill one, we'll pay something one month and not get it billed to the next.
Right.
That's the only reason I'm mentioning that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Move for acceptance.
Second?
Very good. I have a motion and a second to approve the operating statement for April 2015. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay, thank you very much. Kathy.
Thank you, Gabby.
Oh, I want to mention to the public while I'm thinking about it, because I meant to do this last meeting, but again, the auditors are in town. They're at City Hall. And I have done this in the past, but I'll do it again. I invite anyone in the community who has a question or significance that they'd like to have something of the city operations examined a little more closely, that we will arrange a meeting with our auditors for you to do that. And all you have to do is contact me or Mr. Johnson or Ms. Hoslag, and we'll make sure that happens. So if the news media would please put that out, I'd definitely appreciate it. Thank you. Now move on to unfinished business and update on the new warehouse facility. It's looking more and more like buildings out there all the time.
Yes, it is. Last Friday, myself, Mr. Johnson, the mayor, we took almost an extended tour out there of the different buildings. The solid waste building is really coming around. They've got sheetrock on all the walls now. You can actually see what the rooms, how big the rooms are. The workshops look extremely large, but then again, I think we're going to need all that room for the trucks and for the work that's going to go on out there at that area. We also strolled through the administration building. At this time, they're currently putting studs on the inside. They've got electricians working on the walls. They've got plumbers putting water pipes in. One discipline's working right on top of the other one right out there right now. They've got the garage floor poured. The only slabs they have left to pour is the purchasing warehouse and the basement of the administration building. And I think they're really hoping to get that basement of the administration building poured this week sometime. Other than that, what else did I miss?
Schedule.
They're 37 days behind right now. Now that's behind from their schedule, okay? And of course, they hope to be done by the end of October. We still think that, or they still think that they can get done on the date as the contract states, which is the first part of December, the second week of December. And they're not behind, and they feel like they can get caught up if they can just get a break in the weather. And as you know right now, looking at that weather map, everything just is muddy out there all the time.
I've been sitting at some of these progress meetings with the contractor, and I'm thrilled with the contractor. Their attention to detail is phenomenal. Their attention to the work and the schedule is pretty incredible. There have been some small issues that have arisen. They have been able to, or they've been willing to work through some of those small issues without making them a big issue. And so I just, we still got a few months to go, but they're several months into this project, and to date, I would recommend them to anybody. They've been really good to work with.
They also have some really slick programs that they use to keep track of everything. When these suppliers, when they buy materials and the contractor actually pays the subs for these materials, they cut a lien waiver immediately. And when the contractor, when he cuts the check to the subcontractor, he also cuts a separate check not only for the labor, but he cuts a separate check to both the supplier and the subcontractor for that material. So as we go along and as we're paying the bills, we can make sure that we're getting the lien waivers for the doorknobs that we purchase, for the door closers that we purchase. We know we're getting lien waivers from all that stuff from the suppliers. It's quite a slick little thing. I was going to put a progress report in the council packet this week. However, Mr. Johnson wanted me to also include financials. I don't quite have that all together and at my hands, and I had trouble getting that put together. But maybe next month I can go ahead and put the financials together for you as well on what we spent and what it's gone for.
Are there any weather delay days in the contract? I'm sure they're working even when it is raining, but I mean, you get to a certain point that.
Well, and that's just it. That's the difficulty in the whole project. When they looked at the project, they put together a late October date as when they could be finished.
Sure.
They built no weather dates in late October.
But the contract goes through middle.
Contract says middle of December.
That gives them 6 weeks.
So there is some wiggle room there.
Yeah.
Okay, but when they start looking at prevailing wage and union disciplines, they can't juggle their schedule from week to week. In other words, if they know it's going to rain on Friday, they can't work 4 10s this week and then come back and work 5 8s next week. They're not allowed to juggle a schedule like that according to the laws. So when they set their schedule, they pretty well just stick to their schedule. The general contractor commends his subs on occasion because they come in and they deal with that mud up there every day, every week that they've been having, and they haven't been getting a lot done. But that's, some days they have just called it off. Some days the superintendent of the project gets there and he just says, boys, it's just too muddy, you're not going to get enough done. There's not even reason to bring your guys in. We got 1.5 inches of rain on Sunday night. We got 2 inches of rain on Sunday night. There's just no reason to come in on Monday morning.
Got 4 inches this
And
Sunday.
the main guy representing Curtis Main Schulte up there's a guy by the name of Kevin, and he's just a bulldog. He knows what every crew member's doing. There's multiple crews going. He knows what every member's doing. He knows exactly where they are on the solid waste building and the admin building and the call-out building, and without going back to the notes. And I mean, he's just a pretty amazing guy.
Yeah. And again, as long as that discipline can get to the building with the hard floor, they're okay.
Yeah.
But hanging sheeting on the outside of the building in a mud swamp, you can't accomplish that. But if they can get into the solid waste building and hang HVAC, or they can hang the lights on the inside or drywall on the inside, they're knocking it out. They're taking care of it on those days when they've got a hard surface to work on. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, very good. Now move on to new business. County Auditor Jody Paschal's with us this evening, and we're going to talk about a color run.
Yes,
Thank you.
color challenge.
Color challenge run, okay.
Yes. So this will be our second color challenge that we've done. It's for the Friends of the National Churchill Museum at Westminster College. We're asking that we keep the same route as we did last year. The 200 participants who participated in it really seemed to enjoy the route. We had a few hiccups, but we now have a bigger committee, and we've taken care of those hiccups. I suppose you all would, I think I sent you all a letter, didn't I?
Yeah.
Telling you what the route is.
Yes.
It's the same as last year. I've cleared it with William Woods to use their drive or their road through the woods. So The only thing that I would need is a police escort up Westminster Avenue, just for traffic. And I will talk to the chief of police after I get approval for the route.
Well, you also say you need 7th Street blocked off from Loganberry to the corner.
To the corner. That's where we all gather and do registration. And
Oh, okay.
there's a DJ, and the run takes about an hour. And then last year we had people just kind of hang out and throw paint and talk and have a good time. And we have porta potties along the route in case,
Sure.
you got a potty.
In case the need arises.
Right.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Very good, thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve the second annual Color Challenge Run on Saturday, September the 12th. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Looks like we're
Thank
going
you
good.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Have a
Joe.
good time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Joey.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on now to update of the personnel manual. Are you going to handle that, Mr. Johnson, or you want Michelle? Michelle's coming forward. You look mighty serious. Surely it's not that big.
We've been speaking with the union, fire department union, for about 6 months now, and trying to come to terms with some kind of contract. What you have in your packet is a draft of the current employee policy handbook, but with parts added to it that refer only to union members in case the current contract is terminated, so that those words will still apply to union members.
Up until right now, there are a number of personnel rules that pertain to the fire department that are only in the contract. And if the contract is terminated, we would want those rules documented and approved in some other form. And so Michelle and I talked about it, and we just said, well, it'd be just as easy to pull those specific items out of the contract that we felt that were necessary pertaining to some of the benefits and just put them in the handbook.
You have more?
Did you have a question?
Yeah, the only thing I saw was, and I've heard the term before, is Kelly days. I wonder if that needs to be defined somewhere.
It has to do with their schedule.
I know.
And we've even talked a little bit with Dean about maybe that should be in the SOPs, and but it's just, means that every 7th shift they get 5 days off in a row instead of 2, right? Yeah.
Called Kelly.
A Kelly day is, but it's.
It's an extra day off.
It's unique to fire.
It is.
firefighters, right? So I just thought it might need to be added to the definitions at all, if there is such a thing as a definition. I don't know. Something to think about.
Yes, sir.
So, the firefighters or the union, they have a copy of this contract that we're
Well,
looking at?
this is in their current contract?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
but they've agreed to the changes to, I guess.
If their current contract, if you all decide to allow the 60-day termination of their contract expires because you all have chosen not to renew their new contract, or new contract is not presented in time, then it would fall back to the employee policy handbook.
I see.
So,
And at the last union meeting we had, we did provide them a copy with this and asked them to go through the document to see if there's any phrase that they think we forgot or missed. So they are in possession of this.
But they haven't commented on it yet.
I think their belief is that the contract will get renewed and we'll never have to incorporate this into the personnel manual.
this is a just in case.
That way we don't have to outsource our firefighting. If the contract doesn't get renewed in 60 days, we still have a contract, we still have rules.
We still have rules.
We have rules.
And regardless, we would not outsource. We'll still have the same firefighters, and they'll still have the same union, they just won't have a contract.
I see.
We actually discovered recently many municipalities that have unions don't have contracts. So they're not necessarily, they don't necessarily go hand in hand.
Oh.
Hmm.
I didn't know.
Yeah, Jerry and I went to a conference down at the lake 2 weeks ago and heard a different attorney's perspective. This is kind of the next item on the agenda, but there was probably 60 or 70 city managers in the room, 60 city managers, and he asked how many of you have a fire union, and probably, 40 hands went up. And they said, how many of you have a contract? And there was probably 15 hands went up, maybe 20.
I didn't know.
So that's,
So then that eliminates the year-to-year negotiation, or?
well, we can still negotiate, but we'll just have, there just wouldn't, some of the items that are in the current contract would go away. And so they would be 100% covered by the personnel manual. The way it works is everyone's covered by the personnel manual unless the union contract says something different. The union contract would supersede the personnel manual.
I see.
But with those municipalities that don't have a union contract, then if there's changes, then you have to change the manual every year?
You would,
How would they do that?
they would just operate under the personnel manual.
And if changes need to be made, you have to change it year to year?
At discretionary.
Yeah.
For example, whenever we changed our minimum wage for full-time hires to $9.50, we didn't have to change the employee policy handbook to do that.
Although their wages are mentioned in this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if, I know this became a point of discussion last budget year. We had a 5% across the board raise, but the firefighters didn't get that because they were under their contract.
But they did get that. They negotiated that and took it.
Okay.
They did
But,
it.
I mean, in future years, if we have no contract,
They
And
will
we-
just generally get what the city employees get.
that's my
Ah,
question.
I see.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, they'd be covered by the personnel,
By the actual
Okay.
person.
like all employees.
All right.
Okay.
Bill,
Yes,
on the labor agreement that you got the shaded areas are new. There's a couple of areas in there that I kind of wanted to ask about. Employees that work for the fire department must reside within 5 miles. They don't have to now,
they do now, under the contract.
so that's not new.
That is not new. Everything,
It's
Michelle?
moved to a new area,
everything on this sheet of paper is straight from the contract.
straight from the contract or another place in the employee policy handbook, just put all together.
Oh, okay, so taken from both.
There's
So it's
nothing,
just one
there's
fire
nothing
unit.
new here. This is out of the contract, but if the contract goes away, we felt this documentation needed to be someplace, so we're putting it in the personnel manual.
Okay.
I see.
So really, we're just doing this, all
We're
we're
just
doing it is
Adding it to the personnel manual.
putting it in the personnel
Yeah, just adding these.
manual where this wasn't before. Is that what?
Right.
Okay.
And then the 60-day deadline is sort of just a incentive for not only them, but us to get together and get this thing hashed out.
Yes,
Okay.
and I'm not, that's the next item on the agenda, but Michelle, Jerry, and Dean, and I don't mean to speak, how was the last round of negotiations?
Bill came in for a few minutes, explained what we were going to talk about during this council meeting, explained that he was no longer going to be part of the negotiation team. Once he left, we went through the contract we'd been working on for months, and we went through the entire packet. So, and it was very amicable. Several things were crossed out, a few things left in. They were going to go back to their membership to discuss a few of the items, but like that. Very good.
So are you looking for a motion?
Motion on the, to add these to the personnel
Add these
manual.
to the, yeah.
So moved.
Second. Very good, thank you. I have a motion and a second
These
to
will be added.
change the, or add the additions to the personnel manual. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to item C, which is, as we've alluded to already, a 60-day notice to terminate the memorandum of understanding with the firefighters union. Michelle, would you like to go ahead and lead that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
As I stated before, we have been in negotiations for about 6 months. The contract that is going to be presented to you all will be from the union.
Okay.
It will be up to you all to decide if you feel it is appropriate. But like I said, we have been going through it. I would say probably in 60 days they will have a contract for you. We will continue to keep talking with them and negotiating and try to get all hashed out, but they will be bringing their best foot forward, a contract for you all to decide if you think that it's fair and reasonable to accept. But the 60-day notice, I think, is doing the job as far as getting it moving along quicker. So.
And we, sometime in the next few days, we would be issuing the 60-day notice. It's not your action tonight, it's just authorizing the letter to go out. There will be a very specific letter that's given to the union to begin the clock.
So I'd like to make a motion that we address a letter, 60-day notice to the,
Second. Okay, very good, thank you. I have a motion and a second to authorize the issuance of a 60-day termination notice. Is there any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay, very good. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, we talked a little bit about special pickup last time. Looks like we're going to further that discussion on solid waste. JC, do you have anything else you want to share with us? Or Bill? Go ahead.
I'll take this. The city council last month discussed modifying the definition of a special pickup to include residential waste that's simply left at the curb. But we looked at it and we just thought that we needed to have a motion from the council to formally modify the definition. Okay? Just, I see confusion on my left. We have something we think we need to do in order to be able to bill for it.
Okay. Motion to modify the definition.
second?
Very good. I have a motion and a second to modify.
Mary.
Mary. To modify the definition of the special pickup. Any further questions on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the special, new definition of the special pickup, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay. Very good, thank you. We'll now move on to resolutions. And our first order of business under resolutions is Resolution 3235, which is a resolution authorizing an addition of a cooperative effort between us and the county out at the Harnett Water Tower. Mary, Councilwoman Reclue, would you please present resolution number 3235?
Yes, did Jerry want to speak yet first?
No, present it first.
Oh,
then.
present.
Discussion.
Resolution number 3235, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents relating to the installation of a Callaway County-owned building to be for shared use as Hornet Tower. I would like to present the resolution, and at this next meeting, second reading.
No, it's resolution.
Resolution, I'm sorry.
Move for approval.
Tonight's
I
meeting.
move for approval, I'm sorry, tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Second.
We're good. I have a motion and a second. Mr. Shively. Okay, Mr. Sardi, you want to lead us on?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. During the past couple of weeks, a number of us from the city, Mr. Johnson, Dunlap, Andy Ames, and I, and others have been speaking with the county about a county radio project. The county is looking to move to a county-based simulcast radio project, and what that is, it's a radio system where when you push a button, they would be able to talk to vehicles and people receiving the signal all throughout the county. This is a county-led effort. However, the county is seeking to use the Hornet Water Tower facility as a part of this project. They're looking to install antenna on the top of the water tower. They're looking to build an equipment facility at the base of that tower. This would be a new building. And to serve that building, they would have a backup generator and access the facility as needed for maintenance and use. So as a part of this agreement, we've wanted to have the city benefit by a couple of things. The first one being is access to the power created by that generator in the time of an electrical outage. A benefit of that for the city is that it would help to power some of our utility management systems that would help us to diagnose that outage. So the city would benefit by this proposal. The county county facility would be provided just regular electrical service by the city, and we would run gas out to the generator. So that's the project, and the agreement has been crafted in order to hopefully provide some written documentation of that agreement. We're still hashing out the details. I think at first blush, the county has been satisfied with what they've seen, but we'll have to work out some of the technical details and all the legalese that goes into these documents. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
I think both sides of this document are in 100% agreement on intent. Now it's just getting in it, making the attorneys on the other side of the street happy.
I think it's great to see us working together. We need that. The one thing I had a question about was the dates of the agreement. Had we talked about that at all? Is this going to be a forever?
Probably, go ahead.
I think that's up in the air at this point. Clearly, the county is going to want some time to be associated with this if they're going to make a capital investment, but that's really still something to be considered at this point.
The way technology changes,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
could be
In 2015,
obsolete in 5 years. Or
in 2015, it's a necessary building, and in 10 years, it might be very obsolete.
That's true.
It's probably going to be at least 20 years, but we'll talk to that. I mean, it's going to be, guys, we're going to get a generator back up our skate and our communications as well. The county's going to have to be responsible for the update and maintenance on that generator. This is an air-conditioned and heated building. We are supplying utilities, but currently we have a hut inside of the Hornet Tower anyway, that we are running an air conditioner and heating that hut, that little constructed building inside the Hornet Tower. And I think we're going through, Darryl, correct, two air conditioners a year? So that's now no longer going to be our expense. And so from a city standpoint, I think it's a very, very good deal. We just don't have the exact wording for you to approve tonight.
That's my
Right.
only concern.
Right.
I'd really rather wait. What's the hurry? I'd rather wait till we have the final contract.
Well,
I like the intent of it. I agree with it.
because they are more than ready to go. We're just waiting on the document. And I will tell you this, that if anything more than insignificant changes, we'll bring it back to you. We will not let the mayor sign it.
Right.
But if it's just gonna be filling in a date and changing a year or something small, very, administrative, we'd like to see it approved. And the mayor can use his discretion on that too.
I want to see a permanent contract. I'm sorry. But I'm only one guy.
No, I see what you mean.
Any other comments or questions?
I think I trust the mayor and yourself to let us know if this is gonna change significantly. I don't see any negative
Yeah.
potential here for our part. I mean, I may see it on their part, but
I agree.
I'll commit to, once we receive back the final, to send it to you electronically and and wait 24 hours before I sign it. So it gives you chance for input or something if you dead set against it,
Yeah.
then we can, if that happens, we can bring it back to session. Okay,
I mean, it's not that I don't trust, it's just,
I understand. It's good business. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, anybody else?
Being cautious, that's okay.
Very good. I have a motion to adopt Resolution 3235.
I'll second it.
Okay.
we were in
Yes.
discussion.
I think we've already had the motion.
We're already there, Richard.
Second. It's now time for the question, and I'll call for that. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Okay, very good, thank you. Once in a while, when we get involved in those discussions, it's hard to remember where we are. Thank you, Gary.
I forget where I'm at.
Okay, very good. We'll now move on to ordinances, and first reading ordinances. Our first ordinance is bill number 1423, and it has to do with charging for recurring inspection fees on food establishments, if that's required. Councilman Moore's not with us.
Shiverdecker?
Councilman Shiverdecker, would you please present that?
Yes, sir. Bill number 1423, an ordinance amending Chapter 58, Health and Sanitation by deleting sections 58-29, prior health inspection in its entirety, and enacting a subsection C, inspection fees, under section 58-38, frequency of inspection, and establishing an effective date. I make a motion that we advance bill number 1423 to our next scheduled meeting for second reading.
Second.
Very good, thank you. I have a motion and a second, Councilman Vaughn, to advance bill number 1423 at our next meeting. Is there any further discussion of the motion?
When we, and not when, if we adopt this ordinance, would the folks that have already been inspected once or twice already be on the hook for the third one? Or would we give the,
Good question. We would start it fresh with the first inspection.
Okay.
Agreed,
I
Les?
think that's only fair.
And we will let everybody know when we do the inspections that this is a new policy, and if we come back a third time, we're gonna be sending you a fine. Brand new inspections.
Good point.
Very good. Any other questions? That's a good one.
Yep.
Very good. We'll go to the question. All those in favor of advancing bill number 1423, please signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Okay, very good, thank you. We'll now move to second reading ordinances, and I'm sorry, I can't ignore this any longer. There's only one person in here tonight that's really enjoying this meeting, and she's here on the front row. She's sound asleep. You can tell how dynamic we are. Okay.
She's in good company.
Yeah, she is.
We'll now move on to second reading ordinances.
She's just doing what everyone else is wishing they could do.
All the folks at home.
Bill number 1422 has to do with renaming Ash Drive to Wiles Lane. And this is, again, second reading. Councilwoman Pace Snook is not in attendance. Councilman Vaughn, would you cover that, please?
Bill number 1422, an ordinance renaming Ash Drive to Wiles Lane, and amending Chapter 110, Traffic and Vehicles, Section 110-283, Stop Signs and Yield Signs of the Code of the City of Fulton, Missouri. B, deleting Ash Drive and establish an effective date. I make a motion to place bill number 1422 for third reading at the next scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Very good, thank you. Have a motion and a second to advance bill number 1422. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
I thought we'd do second and third tonight, but
Okay.
that's up to Mr. Vaughn, though.
He read it. Rick did.
Mm. Thank you.
Well, the motion is for the, consider third at the next reading.
Sure.
We'll have to go, so that'll be the motion that you have to vote on. Any other further discussion?
How could we do that if we wanted to get it over with tonight?
Vote.
You'd have to.
I don't know, because if you vote it down, it's dead.
Starts all over.
I mean,
Yeah, you better leave it the
I
way
could
it
have
is.
done a third if,
Yeah, that's just, yeah.
I think
somebody would have said
Yeah,
so.
I think we're locked up for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Send an amendment?
If you withdraw the motion,
And
the
then
only
you,
other way to do it.
Yeah, can I withdraw?
I just,
Never mind.
Let's just do second.
Let's just go ahead and do second.
'Cause I think if you vote it down, the whole ordinance is dead.
Yeah, we had to start all over.
Yeah.
Now let's not
Because
do
you're
that.
going on final, third reading.
Okay, let's, yeah, if there's not any further discussion, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor of advancing bill number 1422, please signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay.
We just like you coming to the meetings.
Yeah, see, he keeps coming to me. That's okay.
What would you rather do on a Tuesday night?
Oh, ooh, let me count the things.
Yeah, don't answer that.
Don't.
Good to have you, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on to our DOA report for the month of April. It's in your council packet, if there's any questions. All of our department heads are with us and are anxiously waiting to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, they look it.
I have one from Mr. Hudson.
Okay, Mr. Hudson, if you want to come
On
forward.
page 1,
Page 1.
there's only 50-some pages, it won't take long. New homes, 3 of them at $1,445,000.
I knew you were going to ask that, so I wrote it down.
All right.
We have one being built in Tanglewood. In fact, two. We have one being built in the residential part of Tanglewood, and then there is also a residential care facility, which still falls under residential, being built in the business park of Tanglewood.
Okay. So 2 single-family homes?
No, one of them is single family. The other one is a residential care facility type thing, where it's like 18 rooms.
Okay. And what was the third one then?
Well, there's just 2.
Oh, it says 3.
Oh, then, I'm sorry, then we have one on Claymine Drive, right on the corner of Claymine and West Chestnut, a little home being built there.
Another single-family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to hear, because for a while we weren't seeing any
No, we weren't.
single-family. Okay.
Good news.
Yes.
Still for Mr. Hudson. Sorry, Les. Page 4. One of the businesses has had 2 major critical violations. Kind of goes with what we talked about a little bit before about charging for these things. You know if it's been corrected yet?
Yes, it has been.
Okay, so we're good,
Yes.
they're good.
Yeah, so they're good.
All
Okay?
right, thank you. That's it for you, sir. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Anybody else have any? I know I have some others, but I gotta find them.
Let's see, do you have anything from Mr. Hayes? I'd like to bring him up and let him talk a little bit about the airport and specifically
Okay.
fuel
Yeah,
prices.
I will, yeah, so that's fine.
You got Mark?
Yeah, I just gotta get to the page.
Yeah.
Does that work in your plans?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He's got it over here.
What do y'all want to know?
You go ahead.
Okay.
Apparently, he wanted to talk about the
Recently, within
airport.
the last few months, we've noticed that our fuel sales at our airport have started to drop off. We've noticed that the majority of that drop-off is probably due to the our pricing of the fuel. Checking back to our records, the last time we bought fuel out at our airfield was October of 2014. And at that time, the rack price was $4.56 for 100 low lead fuel. We run it through a normal formula, and we ended up with the price that we currently have today, which is the $5.24 a gallon. And again, like I said, normally when you look at our fuel and how much we're selling, we're usually selling anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 during this period of time of the year. But sales have really fallen off. And if you look at the prices in my Department of, or my Director of Administration's report, you notice that everybody else is significantly less than us. Even Columbia is less than us, and that hardly ever happens.
Yeah.
And then we went back and checked. Currently, right now, we've got about 5,000 gallons of fuel in our 12,000 gallon tank. Okay, now they won't fill that tank up, but if we went ahead and purchased it currently at the current rack price, which I was informed today will probably change tomorrow, but if we could get another 6,000 gallons, which it wouldn't be a complete tanker load, that would put us somewhere around 11,000 gallons. There was some discussion of how can we at least pull our prices down to match something comparable, maybe lessen it, cheaper than Columbia, maybe to even match Jefferson City. Instead of being our normal profit, it would be lowered, mixing the gas at this point in time and being able to get that 6,000 gallons at that rack price would possibly, instead of getting our normal profit on that fuel, it would lower it to about 8%. So Mr. Johnson came back and talked to me briefly about that this afternoon or this morning, and I kind of threw these numbers haphazardly together just to kind of let you guys know where we were and the ideas we were presenting. So I'm looking for some thoughts there about the fuel at the airport. There are two major revenues at the airport. One of them's hangar rent, and the other one are fuel sales.
We're not selling any
Think
fuel,
what-
it's not doing us any good.
Leroy and I talked about this morning, and, to use up some of that 5,000 gallons, we said, okay, let's just match Jeff City's price until we get it down to 2,000 gallons or something, and get another tanker. The way the reason we're coming to you is because the formula that we use to determine the price out there is approved and established by the city council. And you approved a formula, which allows us to, every time we get a tanker of fuel in, we can put the numbers into the formula and just make the modifications. But since we're looking at deviating from the formula, that's why it's coming to the city council.
What's the rack price now?
$3.64 a gallon.
Really? And what was it in October?
Well, back when we purchased it in October of 14, it was $4.56 a gallon. So it was 90 cents higher a gallon.
It was. It's lower now.
Yes, 90 cents lower
How
now.
come it's not coming down at the pump? You can explain that to me later.
Well, it dropped back in the first part of the year. I mean, if you looked at our fuel sales, even when we were doing usually a $1,200 a month in January and February out there, if you go back and look at your DOA reports, we were doing it in the hundreds of dollars. We were only doing like $500 worth of fuel sales.
Right.
So it started back the beginning of the year when prices dropped off shortly around Christmas time or around the end of the year.
Well, what I'm is why isn't it dropping at the gas stations where we buy our car?
Well, it did back then. You just didn't realize it back then because you were
it did,
driving G.I. Joe and Kung Fu
Yeah.
Grid.
I'm sorry?
You did say prices are going up tonight, so they are.
Yeah, I heard that.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so do you want to, I guess the question is, do you want to match Jeff City until we burn out about 3 more thousand, or do you want to go something different?
I'd say the plan you've got to purchase some more.
Have you
at the
figured out what the
lower-
price would be
If you get the lower-
approximately?
You know what it's gonna be tomorrow?
Well, there again, I just kind of roughly figured in, if we went with how much money we have now, and we figured it in at that 364, shook the whole tank up together, we would still get about a 6% profit off of
So what
fuel.
would the rate be?
Matching Jeff City's
They'll be there, yeah.
at $4.74 a gallon.
Yeah.
That's if you buy more.
That's if we buy more tomorrow.
Okay.
6,000 gallons tomorrow.
Do we know how much it might go up tomorrow? Probably no idea.
Or, well, so I guess that's a question for you. Do you want to burn out 3,000 gallons and buy in at lower? Or do you want to buy 6,000 and lock in at 474?
You know, the pilots out there will always tell you that you can't let that fuel get too old out there in the tank. But we have done this back 2 years ago. Our airport manager at the time, Travis St. John, recognized that fuel prices were getting ready to go up, and he went ahead and bought a partial load in order to keep our fuel costs down at our airfield. I don't fly, so I don't know
Yeah.
what's the best answer.
Is there an extra charge by not getting a full tanker full? In other words, if we're just going to get partial, will there be an extra charge for that delivery?
Well, if the delivery charge is spread out over the number of gallons that you purchase, so,
okay.
you know, but you're talking the difference between 6,000 and 8,000 gallons. So there may be a little bit more of an upcharge, a couple cents per gallon, just because you purchased not a full tank
Right.
load.
Well, and the
Okay,
other
thank
thing
you.
that's probably gonna happen is these other airports are gonna have to buy some fuel too, and if the price goes up, they'll have to be raising their prices, so I'd just say keep an eye on it. I think the plan you've got is, does that make sense? I mean, if it's going up for us, it's gonna go up for them too.
Well, but we
For them
can,
to purchase.
I think Mr. Johnson's question is, do we want to go ahead and lower the price on the 5,000 gallons we have left so that we can buy a complete tanker? Or do we want to go ahead and, you know, we don't know what the price is going to be tomorrow on the rack, but do we just want to go ahead and buy a short load tomorrow of only 6,000 gallons and then mix it a little bit, so maybe, you know, to minimize our risk?
I'd like to use up what we got as much as we got
Okay?
and just take it to the 474.
I'm just
And then-
afraid it's gonna go up though.
Huh?
I'm afraid it's gonna go
Well,
up.
it's gonna-
Well, it's always going to go up.
It's gonna, yeah.
It might go down, I mean, it's going to go up tomorrow. 2 weeks, it might come down again.
Yeah.
Use your judgment.
I mean, all the reports
Well,
and
but it's a council action.
all the reports that I've been seeing on TV, they all talk about the gas prices are going to be pretty stagnant over this summer. You know, and you know whether they were trying to sell fuel today.
All right.
Who knows if they're trying to get fuel today or not?
Yeah.
It
So
may
if
be
we-
lower tomorrow.
So if we match Jeff City and try to get rid of as much as we've got,
And
and
you
just
tell
watch
them
it.
to order more when it gets down to 2,000 gallons.
Well, if we match Jeff City, they'll definitely get the gas there and not fly to Jeff City, so we should be able to get rid of it, so.
I would think so.
I think,
We stay
I
with
think
it.
Bill's got a good idea, let's just do that.
Okay. Can we have a motion to that effect then?
And
Yes,
if it's wrong,
yes,
can we
you
still
can.
blame Mr. Johnson?
Sure.
Yeah,
He's got big shoulders, he'll take
blame
it.
me for anything.
There you go. You told us to do it.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and the motion is to,
Match the Jeff City
Match
price
Jeff
until
City
we get
price.
ours down
okay,
to where we can buy a load.
Full load.
Yes.
full one, okay.
And I just want
Second.
clarification, we paid how much for what we got now?
Currently, right now, we paid $4.56 a gallon,
And we're matching to 473.
and we're going to match it to 474 is what Jeff City's currently is.
Right.
Then we're still making money.
Right.
Yeah.
We still have a little bit.
Still
Just not
making-
as much.
Still making 6%,
We're not losing.
No, we're not.
so
There are other expenditures out there,
let's,
but we're not
let's
losing.
get rid of it.
Is there any fuel tax or anything that we have to send to the state for any of this?
I'm looking over to Les' shoulder. Do we get any fuel tax or anything back on this?
No, I mean that we had to pay the state. We don't have to, there's, huh?
When we tell you the price,
Okay.
plus delivery.
All right.
in there.
Delivery, taxes.
It's, we go off the
Okay.
bottom line on the bill divided by number of gallons.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Okay.
very
I
good.
think I already did.
Okay.
Thank you. I've got a motion
you for
and
this
a
one.
second
There you
to lower the price to $4.74 and to lower,
Effective.
to go ahead and get rid of our inventory down to where we can bring in a full tanker.
Sounds
You want this effective tomorrow?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
I guess if that works with your motion, Mr. Vaughn?
Is that right? Okay, that sounds about right. Okay, any further discussion on that motion and second? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay, thank you very much.
While you're up here.
Go ahead.
On the same page, 41, at the bottom, rehabilitate the wastewater treatment facility. We're having trouble getting approval from DNR?
Yeah, and we don't really know what's going on there. We had a meeting down there 2 or 3 months ago, probably 2 months ago, where we pulled all the parties into the room, including the enforcement side of DNR, because they're the one with our AOC that have set our date on when some of this stuff has to be done and completed. Again, we were really hoping to get that contract out probably in February or March this year, but there's just some I's that aren't being dotted and some T's that aren't being crossed. And it seems like every time we submit, our consultant submits something to the Department of Natural Resources, by the time they accept that, they've already found a different T to cross that we didn't get crossed. They wanted to say something just a little bit different. Instead of saying but, they wanted to say and. We want to say shall, they want to say will. And it's just these little bitty semantics like that that are just driving a project this size crazy. You know, we can't get the permit out of the Department of Natural Resources. You know, and it's all technical. It's all just technical language on how the water is supposed to come out and how clean is it supposed to come out. Keep in mind, we've got a variation due to our water quality on this whole thing. That's what we argued with DNR and actually the EPA about for months on this whole thing. And I think right now, the Department of Natural Resources knows they're under a microscope on this project. And they're wanting to make sure that everything that is done is addressed accordingly.
Don't we have some timelines, though, that we need to
Yeah.
comply to?
The DNR has indicated on multiple occasions that they realize that they are a significant portion of the holdup and will work with us on the timelines.
Okay.
But the answer to that is yes, we do. December of next year.
16.
But we also can't start until they
Right.
tell us to, so.
And I mean, even if you bid it now, it's gonna be fall, winter before they start working, so they're not gonna get much done this year.
Yeah, we've almost lost this.
And I was thinking about it today, another, I guess it's a positive, but is that we're just deferring this thing for another year, allows us to continue to accumulate dollars. So it could be that we won't have to raise the amount that we've authorized too.
No,
We'll just have to see how it goes.
the December of 2016 deadline is for what? The disinfectant or everything?
To remove outfall number 2, which is the outfall from our stormwater pond,
Right.
and for disinfection.
Okay.
Keep in mind, though, that we don't actually have to turn the disinfection on until April.
17.
Yeah,
Of the next year.
but they still, it's, as far as our AOC timeline, it's still expected to be done by the December 16th.
And this is probably a little bit different, but what the rain did to us over the weekend.
As far as, I don't know.
I.
Mr. Dunlap, did you address how the plane operated over the weekend with the rain?
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Yeah.
We did have one upset clarifier over the weekend where it did come over the weirs just a little bit, and that was reported to DNR with those rains. If that answers the question.
So are our flow meters showing any reduction in
We're-
I&I? or-
We're pulling those today or tomorrow. I don't think I'm pulled today or not.
Okay.
We was gonna pull them last week, but they kept showing more rain in the forecast. We thought, well, let's leave them in there and see if we can catch a couple more events.
You can probably get a few more this week if you want to, the way it sounds. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Dale.
And I have one more question for Mr. Johnson on page 57. Probably about two-thirds down about the ISO rating changes. Are we expecting something there?
Oh, no, it was just some discussion that we had. If we were to expend funds necessary to go to a lower ISO rating, or if we were to cut back on the expenditures and we lost 1 point, how it would affect the rates.
And we're at a 4 now?
We're 4.
Okay.
Good point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Move for acceptance.
Second.
Very good, thank you. Have a motion and a second to accept the DOA report for April. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay. We did have a traffic commission meeting, and Mr. Hayes, you want to cover that since Mr. Moore is not with us? I believe you have the notes in your minutes, or in your packets, rather.
Yeah, we do.
We called the meeting to order on May 19th. We found out as we were going through this thing that a lot of these issues presented at the Traffic Commission meeting were moot, mainly because we've had lack of quorum for the last several meetings. So it's been some time since we've met. Matter of fact, it was back, I think, in January 20th was the last time we actually met. So some of these items that we had on our agenda were kind of old and the points were moot. The no parking along Center Street. Again, one of the things, though, that has been on our table for quite some time is no parking along the south side of 12th Street at William Woods University. We received a letter from William Woods University that accepted the no parking along that side. They're really hoping that they can get some pedestrian paddles up there, similar to what we've got in and around Westminster, out in the middle of the road. That roadway is significantly narrower than Westminster Avenue, to where it won't allow us to have parking along both sides. So therefore, the Traffic Commission proposed to William Woods if you would accept no parking in front of what they call the White Houses. And that's what their letter basically stated to us. So once again, we wanted to make recommendation to the council to eliminate parking from the RDC building, which is that new dormitory they built there on 12th Street on Long Ewing, from there to the wooden bridge to parking from the south side of the roadway. We went on then to new business, and so one thing that was brought up by several entities was parking along the east side of Hickman Avenue down by McIntyre School. If you remember right, the council was gracious enough to push people away from the corner of West 7th and Hickman on both sides of the road. However, I think there was an instance down there somewhere closer to the school where I guess there was some sort of a vehicular emergency down there, and we had trouble getting emergency personnel down there because people were parked on both sides, still on both sides of the roadway, plus there was traffic coming in and going out of the school at the same time. Therefore, we had Dr. Coward there with the school system, and we talked in depth about no parking along the east side of Hickman Avenue. I think everybody was in agreement that we could probably relinquish parking along there, but our survey showed that the majority of those people parked on that east side of Hickman Avenue were the teachers. So we're going to work with the good doctor to see if there isn't some way that they can get better parking in and on their own property before we make that recommendation to the council to eliminate that. Of course, now that school's out, we have several more months before that has to take effect, but that was one thing that was discussed at the meeting. Also, too, we discussed what was being done temporarily and permanently with the Market Street parking lot. We've got the center median built at the Market Street parking lot, and in doing so, there was some discussion about how are we going to identify those reserved spots. Were we gonna put something on the curb? Were we gonna put those posts back in? And I think that the general consensus was that we weren't gonna put the posts back in unless the meters were reestablished. Okay, so then how are we gonna identify the spots as being reserved? We weren't gonna put anything necessarily on the curb because, I don't know, it just doesn't look that professional. So what we've decided to do is on the 3 light posts that remain in the center of that parking lot, they will say reserve parking, violators will be towed at owner's expense. Okay? Then also on the ground, just so Jane Doe can identify her spot from Freddie Mac, okay, we're gonna paint that number on the pavement. So we're gonna stencil that number on the pavement. That way, that person that reserves that spot knows that's their spot and they don't get put in the wrong spot. Sir?
On that reserved parking sign, can you put Monday through Friday, 7 to 4?
We can.
I mean, if you just put this, it's gonna imply Saturdays and Sundays too.
It's gonna repeat 24
Okay.
hours a day then,
Yeah,
yeah.
good point. Yes, definitely.
Thanks, Bill.
Can
That
do.
was my
Yeah.
answer, too.
So Monday through Friday from
7 to 4 or something?
7 to,
Whatever.
Because if they leave at 4, they're not coming back for,
okay. So I mean, we're just updating the group on that and how that paint parking was gonna be handled after these new improvements were gonna be made. Finally then, we got the renaming of Ash Street to Wiles Lane. Again, that point was moot because it was already actually introduced to the council. A question was presented about why is there a 4-way stop at 10th and Nichols Street? For y'all that don't know, a lot of our utility crews, our public works crews, in order to get from the west side of town to the east side of town and back and forth through there, they take that road an awful lot. And when you've got a loaded dump truck coming from the warehouse, you get to that intersection of 10th and Nichols, and there's a stop sign. And you gotta start going through your gears all over again. We were kinda told a story from one of our senior council members that I guess back in the day, there was an accident at that location, and that's when the 4-way stop was placed in use at that location.
People went the wrong way.
At that time, there
on the
was
street.
no action taken on any of that. Chief Myers mentioned the need for a turn lane down at the police station down at Churchill. Currently, right now, when we originally marked that out, we marked it out for a left-hand turn only down Collier. Right, Collier. And as the police station moved in there now, they think it's more befitting if you had a both direction, one that can be used for left and right, or left going both directions, rather than just designated left for coming southbound on that roadway.
Right.
A few other things were discussed. We discussed a little bit about the stoplights at St. Louis and Bluff Street. Again, our traffic supervisor assured us that he checks those regularly, and he says those work like champs. And then also we talked about the cleanup in front of the Sky Go parking lot. We've got a little place where the old milk house used to be. Since there, we put junction boxes there and breaker boxes and things like that. We did have a tree there, but it's looking a little rough. We reassured the councilman that we would clean that up whenever we do the street fair cleanup, which is here in just another week or two. We'll make sure we get that spot cleaned up as well. That was pretty well all the business.
can you go back and give an update on the Bartley School?
Oh, Bartley School?
Yeah.
I didn't, oh, there it is, it's at the very end of the page,
Yeah.
wasn't it? I missed that, I'm sorry. Number 3, update on Bartley Elementary School. We had discussed the situation with people along Business 54 before and after school. And we had kind of notified Dr. Cower about the situation that exists there. He wrote us a lengthy letter back stating his position on the traffic and the traffic flow around Bartley School. A lot of it, is that number one, he doesn't want to mix vehicular traffic with bus traffic. I explained to him that I really thought McIntyre School did a very good job. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that rodeo down there, but they do a really good job down there at McIntyre School, getting the kids in and out, and they have plenty of people to assist.
Right.
And I think he took that to heart, and I think he's worked with Bartley School to try to provide that. The big thing is that as a traffic commission, we looked at how often this occurs and what we could even possibly do. This is a MoDOT roadway. It would take some significant enforcement if we were to try to do something like this. But there was just, we couldn't figure out if there was anything that could be done. And so therefore, we just tabled it. We just took no action on this issue. So, anybody else that has experienced that down at Bartley School in the business league?
Yeah.
Not for a while.
People kind of do what they want to do.
It's,
Yeah, they pick up the little ones, yeah.
it's, in the morning and in the afternoon, it's not a good situation.
That's terrible, yeah.
It's, I mean, we're talking about, parking and taking off of Hickman because we can't get through. We're talking about doing it, taking off Center, and looks like they're want to change St. Fran. But I mean, there's cars going through there at 30 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the shoulder. Cars routinely stop northbound in the morning, attempting to pull in, blocking the traffic. And I've actually seen it to where the traffic backs up far enough to the south that someone can't pull out of the parking lot to make room for the next person to pull in. And it's just like, so people literally have to drive around to get on the shoulder, which I know Steve's never down there, his guys aren't. I mean, that's cars are having to act in an illegal manner to avoid a situation that's self-inflicted.
Well, and again, like I said, we discussed this with Dr. Coward. I know Councilman Moore was concerned about the kids loading and unloading out on the shoulder of the actual highway. Just to reassure the council, we had nothing to do with what happened to the shoulder in front of the school while we were talking about this issue. MoDOT took it upon themselves to try to change the drainage on that ditch, and they really screwed up the shoulder in front of Bartley School. Okay, so I just want to reassure you all, we weren't down there doing any of that.
Made a bad situation worse.
I mean, again, let me just tell you that it's not our roadway. It's the entrance to the school, and it's a state highway. Now, we can always write a letter to MoDOT asking them if they would like to do a traffic study there once school starts again.
Yeah.
But we don't have any solutions.
Definitely.
You can put up all the no left-hand turn signs all you want, but if you're not sitting there enforcing it, it's not going to get enforced. I don't think we've had a significant traffic accident problem down there, have we? With an increase in rear-end accidents at that location? Nothing like we have at Cleveland and McDonald's. There's always accidents at that little star cluster of roadways.
Is there anything we can do behind the building? Anything come up the streets back in there? I know the buses, that's the way that, yeah.
We mentioned that, the possibility of maybe putting
Back
a
in there.
second entrance in off of Westminster. At the current time, the school said they had no funding to put any sort of an entrance back off of Westminster.
I just say continue to work with them, and, I'm afraid some child's gonna get hurt
That's what's
sometime.
gonna have to
If
happen.
we don't do anything, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
We need to keep pursuing it,
Yeah.
maybe get with MoDOT and have them look at it come the fall, I don't know. I don't have the answers either.
Well, the school needs to have a process that you have to go by to get your kid loaded.
Right.
And everyone needs to go by that.
Every
guideline.
building has one of those.
Well, and see, one thing they talked about was, and it was amazing to me, that some of these parents line up at 1:45 in the afternoon to pick their kids up at 3.
To be first in line. And you
Sure.
have to-
And then they're first in line. And you know
Yeah.
what? Their kid's not the first one out the door.
Right, so they said,
And that slows up everybody then
Should
there
have, I guess.
behind, with the whole flow
What
of things.
KCA does, they have walkie-talkies. They have a
Yep.
couple teachers outside and a couple inside. They see the person that's sitting there waiting. This person's kid.
Normally.
Go out. Your ride's here.
Yeah.
Works beautifully.
it works awesome.
And that's what I kind of encourage to the school. If
Right.
you go down and watch
Sometimes we do,
the system that's down at
sometimes we
McIntyre, it's amazing.
Right.
They've got a center line painted or center row painted for a sidewalk. They've got one teacher watching kids cross in front of the vehicles and between the vehicles. They got another one who's ushering the kids to the car. In the morning, it's just a reverse process. They got a teacher right there
Oh, yeah.
that's helping the child get out of the car so they don't have to have those long, uncomfortable moments with their parents getting out of the car. It's a totally different process at McIntyre, and I highly encourage the doctor to reconsider improvements like that at Bartley
Right,
School.
right.
And Bush School on Wood Street's kind of a mess too. I don't know if you've been
Oh, yeah,
there,
all
but
three of 'em.
the stop sign at 10th and Wood backed things up coming out of there too, so. And then the other traffic going along.
It's not as bad as it used to be, though.
I haven't been there in a while, usually later.
I go
but,
there every morning.
Yeah.
Well, I pick my granddaughter up and
We
drop
go in
her,
the afternoon sometime.
drop her most of the time at KCA, and the teachers are all involved. I think that, and I don't want to say anything, to Dr. Coward, except you might consider more involvement from the teachers for safety of the children, and
Yeah.
Well, and again,
an
I don't know if the letter made, I tried to get the letter that he had wrote back into the packet for all y'all to read, because there are a significant number of teachers who do escort personal children that may be at risk due to conflicts within the family and domestic violence within the family.
Okay, I see.
So, I mean, those are some issues that he brought before us in his letter on why he can't put more people out front to help that situation.
Okay.
But I mean, if you like, we can always write a letter to MoDOT and have them study it.
That might be a good
I
thing to
think
do this summer, to get them ready to go.
Good idea, Greg.
Okay?
Mr. Hayes, is your staff going to prepare the changes to the ordinance for the no parking along 12th Street, William Woods? Or do you need the council to instruct you to do that?
Well, we were gonna put up signs, so yes, it would be something that we would ask the council to write an ordinance for, to reflect that, so we could put signs up instead of paint that whole curve yellow along that whole way.
Okay.
Good.
Can I have a motion to instruct staff to bring you an ordinance change on that?
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to instruct staff to bring an ordinance change on the no parking along 12th Street near William Woods University. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay,
Got it, Greg.
so you got that covered.
Before you run off, Mr. Hayes,
Yes, sir.
I meant to bring up the DOA report, because you mentioned it, and kind of goes along with traffic. Up here at Fifth and Market,
Yes, sir.
stoplight looks like it's working well tonight when I came through. It was green from the time I turned off of St. Louis all the way through. I was amazed.
Well, that was just it. We did bring some help in from MoDOT
Yeah, I
to
saw
look at
that.
that control box. There were some fuses out. There was also a bad board in there, a bad computer board in there. Since those have been changed out, they seem to be working
Right.
on a more regular
So
basis.
thank you and kudos for getting that taken
I'll
care
let
of.
them know.
Let's hope it lasts.
Yes.
Here's your
I've got mine away.
Anything else for Mr. Hayes? Okay. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Very good. We'll now move on to appointments. I do have an appointment of a Denise Felt to the Fulton Housing Authority Board. She will replace resident Rowena Ford whenever her term expires. I'd appreciate an approval of, a motion for approval of
I
that
move
motion.
we
of that appointment.
approve her appointment.
Second.
Thank you. Very good. I have a motion and a second to approve Denise Felt to the Fulton Housing Authority Board. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Thank you. Also, to the Human Rights Commission, we have a vacancy there, and I'd like to appoint Michelle Allison to the Human Rights Commission. And I'd appreciate a motion for that.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second to approve Ms. Allison for the Human Rights Commission. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay, very good, thank you. Under announcements, again, tomorrow night, the MML meeting. We'll meet here at City Hall at 5 o'clock and ride over together to Columbia to that meeting. As a reminder, 10:30 in the morning is the ribbon cutting for the State Hospital site. Very exciting time for the city. Also on Thursday morning, we'll have a ribbon cutting and welcome Henderson products to the city. So again, you're invited. That's at 10 o'clock, I believe. And that'll be out at
Is the ribbon cutting for the state hospital, is that gonna be in front of the old
It'll be
administration?
in the big circle.
It's right in the circle.
That's my understanding. It's in the circle, yeah.
Groundbreaking or whatever, yeah.
Okay.
What time is it?
10:30.
10:30 in the morning.
The other couple of reminders is it the FADC golf
Yes.
on the 5th tournaments? I think we have the teams pretty well together. If you probably still have time though, if you want to play. And the city picnic again is that evening on June the 5th.
Oh, that's right.
So, and you're all invited to that. So, very good.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Mr.
Didn't have a chance in old business or new business. Under old business, I'm not sure whether the address is 826 or 828 Bluff. Still has a lot of trash in the back. We have any action on that? You know which one I'm talking about, Les?
Trying to think which one.
Is that the,
No, sir, the only thing we can do is go up there and pick it up. We can't find the owner. I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's living. We've sent a letter to his last known address, and we've had no action, other than his, I'm sure his parents accepted the letter because that's where we mailed it to, but,
Yeah.
so we'll get somebody up there in the next day or two to clean it up.
Okay, thank you so much. And on Wood Street, this is probably for Mr. Hayes. On Wood Street, probably in the 1,000 block, 10,000 block, between 10th and Z. Okay, we've had some high water issues there the last few years, and I don't know why all of a sudden it's changed. We didn't ever used to have that problem. I noticed a sign this morning, the only reason it came to my mind.
Oh, when you got there.
For water over the road.
Yeah, Sunday, when we had the significant rainfall on Sunday.
right.
Once again, we had the water back up on Wood Street. We are aware of the problem. We ran a camera up through there last week to see what the problem was because it had clogged a couple weeks prior to.
Yeah.
We found a small bear den with a bunch of cubs up in there. We think that they will be leaving town very shortly when they get of age. No. Actually, what it was, we did run the camera up through there.
Steve's over there like, not another bear. So
We
we had
did
to
run the
talk about
camera up
bears.
through there.
He's having
And
a
the plastic pipe is crushed. We don't know why it's crushed, but it's somewhere in that first segment between the drop inlet up behind the curb and the drop box that's out further in the fairway about 80 feet away. For some reason right there, the plastic pipe has crushed from both the bottom and the top, and it's backed up with debris. And we're going to end up having to dig that segment up. Bless the heart to you country club members. We will be out there creating another little hazard in the fairway. You shouldn't have any problem driving over it. But then again, if you do, it's just going to be a man-made hazard.
Just a
You'll just have to
big
take a drop
hole.
out of it. We're just working, matter of fact, we're checking with the gas department to see when their mini excavator will be available. We're hoping to get out there with a small piece of equipment instead of a large piece of equipment because we really don't want to mess stuff up out there.
Yeah, really. Okay. So our stormwater line goes across the golf course?
Yes.
Yes,
And we have an easement for that?
to a point. Between
I
where
didn't
the
wanna- I
problem is
didn't
right
finish the
now,
question
where the
for a
problem is
reason.
right now, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay.
So, all righty.
All right, thank you. Thanks for indulging me, Mr.
very
Mayor.
good. Okay.
Move for adjournment.
We haven't got through the executive session yet.
I do not have a need for executive
Thank
session.
you.
So
I'll
we
withdraw
will,
my motion. No,
I'll
I'm just-
accept your motion again. I think I heard it.
Move
Yeah,
for
I
adjournment.
think you, yeah.
Second?
Second,
Do
yeah.
I have a second?
Second.
Down here. Is it you?
Much caffeine.
All
do you
those
need?
in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
And have a good evening. Thank you.